go. Welcome back to another episode, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this is finding you well and you're enjoying your Tuesdays, whatever it is that you're up to. Bob, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm still sort of on a bit of a high from the last couple of weeks of the a week off, having a rest, and then back with Mark and Peter.
Wow.
Um, Two really good episodes and getting good responses as well. So that's nice to see.
Absolutely, it's like living the kind of pseudo high rise celebrity status. I've been quite enjoying it, which kind of makes me think, for you guys out there who are listening, if there's anyone that you'd like to see us track down and have a chat with, besides the recurring episodes of the aforementioned gentleman as well, then let us know. Don't stay quiet on these particular points. I've had a few people asking to see if we can try and get the People Who Read People podcast on here for a chat. We're going to try and open some conversations out there. We'll see what happens. Feedback. Let us know. Don't be silent in that particular situation. But yeah, with today's topic. The the idea is that before really a single word is exchanged, your brain has very often already decided whether or not someone is trustworthy. You're doing it now with us. You've decided if we're competent. You are deciding if we are worth listening to. That decision is running on hardware almost that you didn't choose, and you can't simply override by trying harder. So every investigative interview, every witness interaction, every professional first contact is subject to this process. And the question isn't whether it happens; it's whether you are aware enough to catch it happening to you, in terms of the influence of how much you like, or indeed by comparison don't like, someone or something being spoken about. Bob, what's been your experience of being influenced by the things that you like and the things that you don't?
I think it's a massive influence on us, whether we like it or not. We do it all the time.
Mm.
And in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing, it's quite a powerful tool as well.
Yeah,
Um, I think the there's obviously with everything there's light and shade, and
100%.
there are a lot of people, and you can see that by the amount of people who are conned, if you want to call it that, or in all sorts of forms, that liking can be confused with trusting.
Yeah,
Um, I could work with people that I don't particularly like, but I trust, but I couldn't work with someone that I don't trust. Full stop.
absolutely. Absolutely. It was Alexander Todorov demonstrating that competence and trustworthiness judgments from a face alone, they take
Mm.
approximately 100 milliseconds, and they will
Yeah,
often predict everything from electoral outcomes to how your date is going to go, to any manner of business interactions. The brain is essentially voting before you are,
yeah.
in those moments. So if you as an individual, if you as an operator, if you don't know what your trust response is and how it's already fired, if it's already fired, then you can't properly examine whether it was warranted in the first place. And those patterns
Mm.
might embed to make sure that you are almost falling foul of these kinds of processes the whole time. Referring to it as a kind of algorithm of sorts is almost a pithy metaphor about these processes. But if you think of it as awareness of the algorithm, that's really the first move, and then everything
Yeah.
else is built upon that, right?
Mm.
How
Yeah.
how would you
Yeah,
say
exactly
awareness is
that.
built?
The awareness, well, there's the funny thing is that you look at different sort of from the sort of pop culture side of it.
Mm.
that we get now with the books from ex-FBI agents all the way through to Chiodini and things like that.
Yeah.
They all talk about similarity.
Yeah.
And I can understand that because it is one of the basic things is we want to be safe and secure.
Mm.
And who do you trust most in the world? You trust yourself.
Yes.
And so I always, when I'm working and in my work, I always say to people, you should know who you're going to see and you
Mm.
should get an idea of by their profiles, etc. Because your first impression now isn't when you meet them, it's
Mm.
formed long before then. And all you're doing is so really what you're in the realms of is consistency with what they've seen in the first place, because we
That's
like
it.
continuity and consistency. But certainly similarity works, and alongside that, I suppose, familiarity.
Here's the truth. Clarity under pressure isn't natural. It's trained. Axiom is a cognitive framework, one that is designed to improve your reasoning, to improve your memory, and then the subsequent decision making that goes along with that. Not theory focused, not just inspirational quotes, mental architecture. So if you want to think clearly and do so when it counts, go to omniscient-insights.com/axiom or right there. Because in chaos, the clear thinker wins.
Yeah.
And if we talk about it in wider terms and just say policing or security, and we talk about business, the familiarity will come from your contacts with them beforehand. I would think in those terms. And if you can get those two right, the positive effect, all you've
Mm.
got to do then when you do meet them, you've got to keep that going.
Mm.
Um, that's my thoughts on it.
Love that. I mean, that's a great shout. I mean, especially given how how broad and how deep the open source data goes. I mean, you can find almost anything on anyone with a few basic Google searches.
Yeah,
Um, one of the things that when I was looking into the research for this particular topic, one of the things that keeps coming up is the halo effect. It's a cognitive bias, but when you have a single positive attribute that really contaminates your perception of unrelated attributes. So it
yeah,
can be that this one person, you really liked a film that they were in, and then they are then dragged through the public forum with some kind of scandal where they claim innocence
mm,
and other people don't. So your opinion of that can be at a very small level influenced by your preference for the film. Attractive
mm,
people are assumed to be smarter, more honest, more competent,
mm,
not as a tendency. It's measurable, and it's a replicable distortion. The earliest I could find, I've got it here as well in my notes, is Solomon Ash. I reckon that's how the surname is said. It's ASCH. Solomon Ash, 1946. Impression formation studies established the structural reality of the halo effect. Edward Thorndike named it in 1920 after observing military officers rating soldiers, and their bias has been replicated across cultures, professions, and contexts for over a century. So, in
mm,
in any kind of assessment context, it could be a recruitment. It could be the barista who's making your coffee wherever you go. The halo effect is an active corruption, or rather an active possible corruption to the
yeah,
data that you are processing. It's like an integrity problem. So
yeah,
one of the things that we can do for that is, when you're forming an assessment of someone, just do your best to isolate each attribute explicitly. What is my evidence for said specific claim, whatever it is, separate
mm,
separate from everything else I think about this person. And if you can't answer that cleanly, the halo effect might be doing some work in that particular situation. Like, there's a few people that we've referenced, these guys that go on to write books and whatnot, and their stories might not actually be the most, what's the most diplomatic term I can use? Reputable.
Yeah.
And they have masses of followings, millions of people following, who then only see the status that, well, they have millions of followers, therefore that must mean X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. Or they said something quite insightful at one particular stage, therefore that must mean Halo effect carries through those particular elements. It's not necessarily a flaw in individual thinking. It's a feature. It's a permanent part of humans' ability to recognize patterns.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And it's for this, it's quite practical because it's what we do.
Yeah.
And because the fact of it is even when we're delivering courses and that, and you've got to get quite quick rapport with people that you're delivering to, because some of the stuff we do, you couldn't do it if people don't buy into you. And so you've got to have a positive effect, because the positive effect or affect of that is that it will spread automatically amongst the people you're with.
Yeah.
And if you can get that positivity across, which is that they will like you, and if you want to be likable, you've got to be positive. And your emotional state will then predict theirs,
Yeah.
because they will mirror you back. And so if you take that analogy out of the classroom and take that into everyday life, and I can remember, seeing a real expert at likability at a conference I was at once. Some guy, he was just great at it, and I watched him with a couple of people. But one of the things that he used, which I think works really well, is reciprocity.
Yes.
Is he would always, I noticed, he would always offer to buy them coffee. And or he would do some small gestures of kindness towards them,
Yeah.
and it made them like him more.
Yeah.
And he wasn't doing it for any ulterior, well, he was doing it for ulterior motives, but they weren't dark psychology.
Yeah.
It
Of
was
course.
to try and get business.
Yeah.
And he was very successful. He was on a stall, and I just stood near and watched him. I won't say what he was selling or what he was doing, but he was an expert at it. He'd obviously, but I would say that he was probably, I may be wrong, but I don't think he was trained in it.
Right.
I don't think he was an operator in that regard. I just think he honed his personality. And it was good. He was competent, he was warm, which I think is another one.
Yeah.
And he was, and he just shone out of him. And you get people like that, it's persona, isn't it?
100%. 100%. You know where I see the most common occurrence of those types of things, and I'll be honest, it's because this is my one driving flaw, that when it doesn't happen, it pisses me all the way off. Like when you're at a junction or some kind of turning, or some kind of only letting one car through at a time kind of thing, and the other person in question doesn't even, and realize you don't hold your steering wheel here, but it's just so I can show you, doesn't even do that just to say thank you.
Yeah.
Doesn't even just put their finger up. That is immediately a collection of the opposite of the things that you've just spoken about with that guy, mostly because we don't have any data to really ground that observation in, just the fact that we didn't see something. And yet I have yet to bump into anyone who is not necessarily indifferent about it, but I've yet to bump into anyone who's even accepting of that. We all quite rightly and psychologically healthily say, we never know what someone else is going through, blah blah blah, all that type of thing. We don't. But I can't foresee irrationally of a situation where I'm going to think, oh, okay, maybe they just haven't noticed, because I can see that they've noticed.
Mm. Yeah,
It's like walking past someone that opens a door for you.
mm.
You would say thank you, and it's it's a beneficial part of these types of things to understand both areas.
Sure,
You know.
sure. And I think it sort of feeds into the thing that I say a lot, and I've probably said it on here before, is that, hostility or
Mm,
non-behavior will always have the response that it deserves. Whereas
absolutely.
if you're kind to someone, they will be reciprocal and be kind
Absolutely.
back, or think of you kindly. And it does work because being liked is an essential element
Mm,
of everything we do.
yeah.
It's about building relationships,
Yeah.
and you know, and on the other side of it, I think it's fair to say that it's like everything. It's on the light to dark, and if
Mm,
you're on that dark side, the dark psychology side of it,
mm,
it is something that can be used really well
yeah.
by practiced people who can use it to do things that you will make you like them in a way that will make you do things that you may regret later.
Well, yeah.
And they use all the same skills, really. Matching behavior,
Mm,
what can we say? Echoing your emotions
yeah.
back to you.
Yeah.
And and again, I haven't seen that because I've usually dealt with the aftermaths of when that has happened.
Mm,
Um, but in that instance, it's manufactured likability.
yeah.
It's that mask that we
Yeah.
talk about they're wearing, that they wear to shift control to themselves. Although it looks like they're not in control, they are manipulative
Mm,
in taking control, but manufacturing the trust that they need
mm,
to get to where they want to be.
mm. Absolutely. I mean, it's something you always hear about with the discussions of psychopaths and psychopathy.
Yeah,
Their charisma that they
yeah,
apparently ooze. And it's just reminded me, going back to the driving issue. I may be 10 or 11. So as I turn 40 tomorrow, it's a long time ago. I still remember with absolute clarity the guy that my mum let out at a junction, and he blew her a kiss. And that made her, it wasn't like a creepy kind of thing. It was just
no,
thank
no,
you. It was like one of those I've been waiting for ages, and that kind of gratitude came out, and that stuck with mum for like the next couple of days
yeah,
in those situations. But yes, you make a great point about unconscious behavioral mimicry. It increases likability and rapport if you're comfortable with behaving in a similar manner to someone else. Of course, when somebody's doing it terribly, it just looks weird. Like if I scratch my beard and then you scratch yours, or I don't know, do something with our glasses, or whatever it is. And it's
yeah,
it's this creepy kind of follow along, but when done as a form of connection points, which can come as at the result of manipulation, but it can come
mm,
at the result of connection sincerely as well. This is why we encourage these kinds of checkpoints.
yeah,
It's a natural social lubricant. I mean,
yeah,
it's a deliberate sales and influence method.
yeah,
But yeah, I believe it's called. I would need to be fact checked on this. I believe it's called the chameleon effect. The whole point was to really demonstrate that people who were unknowingly being copied, they reported a bigger likability, and a smoother connection towards the
yeah,
interactions they were having. The effect itself works even when the mimicry is consciously applied by the other party. So when it comes to a trained sales professional, a
yeah,
negotiator, a parent, a certain category of of influence that is required of your role, you can apply these kinds of things deliberately, because the feeling of connection it produces is real, and the cause of that feeling might not be what you think it is. So to remain operator safe, check in. If you notice an unusually rapid sense of warmth or connection with someone in a professional context, no one's saying put it in the freezer to let it cool down. Just check for mirroring. The feeling is it's a data point, but it needs verification, not some kind of blind trust.
Quick question. When was the last time you trusted your memory? But your memory without checking a device. Most people don't lose intelligence. They lose discipline of attention. MindForge is a structured training system that is designed to rebuild focus, recall, and your mental stamina, but to do so in just 10 minutes a day. No productivity hacks, no dopamine tricks, no supplements you need to swallow, just cognitive conditioning. So if you want your mind to feel sharper within a week, omniscient-insights.com/mindforge, or right there. Train your mind like it matters.
And this is the benefit of these methods. If you are like we sat down with Mark last week, if it is that you're sitting down and you need to ask someone some difficult questions, but you openly have a deep, profound respect for whatever they've done previously, or the role that they have, or the kind of person they are, whatever it is, that has the distinct potential to color how you process the information, unless you create these kinds of check-ins. So it's not about being cold or trying to not be human. If anything, it's leaning into being more human.
Yeah. I think also it's fair to say that likability is linked to the basic skills of communication, and that is listening, trying to get an alignment with the person you're with. And if you're doing that, then that likability thing will probably come with it. But thinking about Mark last week now, Mark last week. I've never met Mark before, and I sort of did but I do know him through LinkedIn, and so we got similar backgrounds. So there's this similarity. We were familiar because although we're very distant, we were very connected on LinkedIn. He's shown positive effect, and I've shown positive effect to him because we both liked each other's posts and commented on them and said, well, great, I like that post. So we've been reciprocal as well, because he's liked my post, I've liked his. We've both shown through the way we behaved that we were competent in what we did. And there was a certain warmth there, even though it's through the ether. There was that sort of warmth there. So we had all of those elements, and all we needed was to when he came in that room with us, is he needed continuity of what he'd seen online there. And we gave that to him, and so it went really well, and it was like old friends just having a chat. But then if you take the dark side of that, that could all happen. The romance fraud could all happen, or the fraud could all happen in a very similar way. Apart from the fact that one of those parties on that LinkedIn post is just pretending. So it's manufactured similarity, it's manufactured this. And I have on a couple of occasions been very dubious about LinkedIn profiles of people who've tried to connect to me on LinkedIn. I've looked at them and just thought that doesn't look right. And they're trying to apply this thing of being familiar and being, oh, well, they're like me, so they must be like me. If you see what I mean.
Well, I mean, it's,
and like I say, that likability doesn't always build into trust.
Agree to agree. Yeah, we were speaking just before we started. It's Robert Cialdini's liking principle.
Yeah.
It's arguably the most commercially weaponized
Yeah.
influence mechanism ever. People comply with requests from people they like. The implication being that manufacturing likability is a viable and well documented strategy for extracting compliance, and that's not always the case, because that really supersedes, or rather is superseded by, authenticity.
Mm.
You know, you've got to find that point that you can speak to with a genuine intent for connection on. Otherwise, it always comes across as that mask up kind of thing. You know, he documented the similarity, familiarity, compliments, association, physical
Yeah.
attractiveness, all of that
Yeah.
increases liking, and then downstream the likelihood for compliance. So every cold outreach email is designed to seem personal. Every
Yeah.
political ad
Yeah.
is designed to try and mirror some values back at you. Every influencer, even though the title's kind of abhorrent, is their posts are calibrated to feel like that they're talking directly to you personally. That's what it is. That is this principle in action. So when you feel a pull towards compliance, run a liking checklist. Which
Yeah.
if you know the Cialdini elements, which of those 5 factors is active? Is it genuine or
Mm.
manufactured? And if you're struggling to answer those questions, you at least have some awareness that the fact that you like this person is doing some of the heavy lifting for you on your
Mm.
process of the information. You can't stop the liking principle from firing, but you can learn to check your work after it has, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like we said before, uh, if you think and you follow psychology and
Mm,
especially bioevolutionary
yeah.
way of looking at things, is that we want to feel included. We want to feel like we're safe and secure.
Mm,
And if you can get someone to like you, then it goes hand in hand. You'll feel safe if you feel like someone likable,
mm,
find you likable,
yeah.
because what we want as humans is to feel comfortable
Mm,
in the interactions we're in. And if we feel comfortable, then we must like the conversation we're in or the environment we're
yeah.
in. It just follows hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I say, from a positive point of view, from when I'm working with sales,
Mm,
but when I'm working with people, trying to show them that people might be manipulating you or trying to manipulate you, it's all down to likability. And um, I think likability is an emotional response.
massively.
And it's immediate and it happens. But what people don't look is then to validate it up towards trust.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So as we come to the end of our time, that feels like a good final thought. But just on the off chance that there's any kind of final thoughts, sentiments that you want to leave the good folks with before we part their company.
Well, I just think that if you're going to follow um, a path towards productive communications in whatever its form, is you must at least understand the part that likability plays in it. And hopefully we've helped a little bit with that today. And maybe we could, if people are watching this and want more, we could do more about how you achieve that because
Absolutely.
we don't do much of the actual practical application. But my second thing is on the off chance that he might hear this at some stage or is listening, Zach Elwood, we would love to get you on to talk to you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the people are quite literally asking. So
Yeah.
that's a lovely element to leave it on. So, folks, thank you for your time and the electrical conductivity of what was happening in here that allows you to listen to us. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever it is that you get these from. It allows us to keep bringing these episodes to you. And until such time as we're able to greet you again, we shall love you and leave you, and see you again soon. Take it easy.
Bye.